This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, plenty of bright young entrepreneurs are in the running for accolades at the Young Business Enterprise Awards. The threat of COVID-19 has meant a colourful southern floral celebration has been cancelled. And a year after two Dunedin dogs went missing, their owners haven't given up hope and are still searching for them. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Sophie Morris. This year's Young Enterprise Scheme Championships entries were too close for judges to call on Monday night. Instead, first place went to two businesses developed by senior pupils from Otago. One was a honey business, while the other processed dried berries from Persia.
The Otago Young Enterprise Scheme Championships on Monday night ended up too close to call, with the judges choosing two winners for this year's awards. Maniatoto area school pupil Pete Chesmore, who has already been a recipient of this year's Otago Daily Times Class Act Awards, has been dabbling with beekeeping and now has half a dozen hives making honey. He's also branched out into conservation by creating bee hotels as a safe place for New Zealand's 28 species of native bee to live.
The diversification into bee hotels was based around raising awareness about New Zealand native bees and conservation of their natural ecosystem, which is under threat from invasive wasps and a huge lack of habitat.
The other winning team was Albauro from Bayfield High School, who hit on the scheme of importing dried Persian barberries and turning them into powdered health product.
Yeah, so we import it from Iran. We came across it after I found out about the research done on it. And so we decided, because it wasn't sold in the New Zealand market, that we would be the first once we got involved with the Young Enterprise Scheme.
The Bayfield team have already seen a $2,000 profit on their sales this year and become accomplished at pitching their business scheme along the way.
It was pretty new for us because we're year 12, so this was our first year in the Young Enterprise Scheme. So this was our first time running a business. So it was pretty exciting getting to pitch for the first time, and I think by the second time we got pretty used to it.
University of Otago Business School Dean Robin Gould says the standard of products the students have come up with this year has been unprecedented.
They've really been creative, they've been innovative, they've worked on very real problems that they've identified and come up with extraordinary solutions, and that to me is what's really exciting about Young Enterprises, bringing together innovation, creativity and then driving a solution that's making a better world, and also learning about business and making some money along the way.
The two winning teams are set to present their business models at the Nationals in Wellington in December. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The driver of a tourist bus that crashed near Queenstown, causing a girl and a woman to lose limbs, is appealing his conviction. Chinese national Liang Fan crashed a bus and trailer carrying 23 Chinese tourists in January. A 10-year-old girl lost both hands and a woman lost an arm. Fang was sentenced to community work, a 9-month disqualification, and was ordered to pay $9,000 to the two most injured passengers. Immigration New Zealand has also requested he leave the country. Despite admitting he took a corner too fast, Fang says the judge's previous refusal of a discharge without conviction will have a serious impact on his life and career when returning to China. However, Crown Prosecutor Ricky Donnelly says there's no suggestion Fang will have problems finding work as a result of the conviction. He also says that Fang had driven the road many times and should certainly have remembered the recommended speed of the corner. Concerns about the possible spread of COVID-19 meant the annual open day at a Southland tulip farm has been cancelled. Each year, Triflora New Zealand near Edendale open up their paddocks full of colourful tulips to the public, but this year the risk was too high.
Each year, thousands of visitors flock to the collective colour of Southland's Edendale tulip farms. Just before harvesting time, usually Triflora New Zealand will be getting ready to open their gates to the public, But this year the public will have to appreciate the tulips from the roadside. Operational manager Rudy Verplank says it wasn't an easy decision to cancel the annual open day, but the current situation with COVID-19 made it necessary.
Our biggest problem is getting overseas specialists in, and we rely for the upcoming season so far on a core group of our staff to help us out. And we simply cannot take the risk of exposing that core group of people with an already minimum skeleton crew to having visitors coming from all over the country. So that's why we had to make the hard decision to cancel it this year.
The initial COVID-19 lockdown earlier this year meant Verplank was unable to export any of his product, having to instead store it and hope. But just in time, the country went into alert level 3 and he was able to start exporting the bulbs.
Although those flowers that look beautiful, that's not our export product. Our export product at the moment is under the ground, so we export the bulbs to commercial flower growers all over the northern hemisphere, but mainly to America and Europe.
Verplank says while the pandemic forced the company to look into alternative markets, North America was still the major focus. And all going well, about 60 million bulbs were likely to be exported this year, with about 35 different varieties.
They will be used next autumn. So the orange, the red, the yellow, that all has that autumny, Halloweeny, pre-Christmas theme. So yeah, that's why you see those colours a lot.
An alternative event will be held at the Edendale Presbyterian Church. At Edendale, the South today.
A contentious row of dilapidated buildings on Dunedin's Princes Street are now set to be sold. In 2008, Christchurch developer Luke Dirkswagger proposed demolishing the buildings. The new development was to be a 5-storey apartment building with retail space on the ground floor. The move was opposed during resource consent hearings, but in 2014 he won Environment Court approval to demolish them, as long as he retained some of the building's historic facades. He says the decision to sell is because one of the owners does not want to continue with the project. A year after their 2 dogs went missing, a Dunedin couple have not given up hope in finding their much-loved pets. Signs have been erected across New Zealand in the hope someone will recognise the dogs, which are suspected to have been stolen.
Otago Peninsula couple Alan Funnell and Louisa Andrew have been sending professionally printed signs and flyers around New Zealand in a search for their 2 dogs, Dice and Weed, who went missing a year ago and are thought to have been stolen.
We've got signs up around New Zealand. The whole problem with missing dogs once they're out of your area, it's really hard to create awareness. So we've just been fully focused with the social media and generating awareness within people who can support us so that they can promote them in their own area. I think that's the key.
The couple say they're very grateful for help from the community, such as this search party which was organised by local harriers shortly after the dogs went missing last October.
Yeah, quite humbling how people will drop what they're doing and go and look for you and help any way they can.
It's actually just really amazing here.
The couple say all their spare time outside of work has been spent looking for their much-loved pets.
To keep something like this going, it requires a lot of time and energy, and we don't have a problem doing that. I mean, we love the dogs and we want to find them, and we've probably put at least 20,000 of our own dollars into it.
And a Give a Little page has already raised over $13,000 to help continue the search for the missing dogs. In Dunedin, the South today.
Still to come on the South today. Riverton pupils take part in the annual New Zealand Shakeout, and we bring you the latest in a 10-part series on Dunedin's risk of an earthquake.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Hi, Al Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. And check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
You've seen us in the street, now find us online. Check out shopon.org.nz. We have all sorts of treasures, from retro and vintage clothing to antiques, homewares and accessories. New items added every week. We're open 24/7.
Welcome back. Emergency Management Southland says there's no better time to prepare tamariki for a natural disaster. Following recent large weather events in Southland, its timely Riverton pupils took part in the annual New Zealand Shakeout event, preparing them for natural disasters.
Highly visible and assembling in an orderly fashion as part of the nationwide Shakeout emergency preparedness drills.
What we tend to do in Riverton here is we add the tsunami hikoi to it. Riverton's a low-lying area, it's very susceptible to tsunami, and we just want to make sure that our communities and our tamariki are prepared.
Emergency Management Southland Community Advisor Ali Kurd says combining both the earthquake drill and tsunami hikoi helps reinforce the need to be prepared for whānau.
It's really, really good. I mean, this has been going on for a number of years now, so they know what to do. It's just part of their everyday life, so it's not scary for them, and they've done really, really well today, and beautiful day for them as well.
It's good to be prepared, and you can never start them too young. Riverton kindergarten teacher Kathy Hollings says any time is a good time to prepare for emergencies.
So we like to take part in what's happening in our community, and this is a really important part of our planning for the year, is to go on our tsunami hikoi once a year. So because we're close to the sea, that's part of our community. We need to know what to do in a disaster, an earthquake and maybe a possible tsunami.
Hollings says they told their youngsters to prepare for a bit of a walk ahead of taking part in the tsunami hikoi.
So they practice an earthquake drill every month, so they're really familiar with that, and we had Ali and Craig from Civil Defence join us today, so that was great. Ali had a chat, so they were able to share their prior knowledge with her about what happens in an earthquake.
The event in Riverton also featured hundreds of pupils from Aparima College, Riverton Primary and Riverton Childcare, all learning how to stay safe in a natural disaster. In Riverton, the South Today.
Tonight we present another chapter in a 10-part series on Dunedin's risk of an earthquake, similar in magnitude to the ones which damaged Christchurch 10 years ago. This time we look at the risks of a mega tsunami being created by a movement of the Akatori Fault.
Are people living in low-lying areas of Dunedin at risk from a tsunami if a localised earthquake occurred at the nearby Akatori Fault? University of Otago geology professor Mark Sterling identifies this 4-metre-high ridge and farmland near the settlement of Akatori, about 25 kilometres south of Dunedin, as being created in a series of major earthquakes, with the last one occurring only about 700 years ago. If it moved like that again, Dunedin would probably be hit by an earthquake similar to what happened in Christchurch.
It would be a large earthquake over magnitude 7. and it would probably be very strong shaking and damaging shaking in Dunedin.
The fault line, called the Akatori Fault, stretches north through Tairi Mouth, finishing just south of Dunedin. It's moved with potentially destructive force in geologically very recent times. It sparked off a potentially destructive earthquake about 1,000 years ago, and then another quake about 700 years ago. And Professor Sterling says it's possible it could cause yet another quake any time.
Well, we can never say definite, or we can rarely say definite in science, but based on the time period it's been quiet and the short time period that these earthquakes have happened in, and the very short time period in geological sense since the last two of those events, 700 years, that would make me think that it's still in a phase of activity. So yes, future earthquakes on this fault.
However, he says an earthquake created by movement of the Akatori Fault would be unlikely to cause a hugely destructive tsunami along the Otago coastline.
Like you have those big subduction zone earthquakes like in Japan and Sumatra that produce the huge tsunamis because they displace, you know, hundreds of kilometres of seabed by 30 metres or whatever. Here, if one of those earthquakes on the Akatori Fault was to go off, you would get some displacement, perhaps 2 metres on the seabed, and that wouldn't produce something like those mega tsunamis, but it could locally produce a tsunami that would cause some damage, like say in the mouth, maybe up at Brighton.
In Dunedin, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, the Southland Woodworkers Guild showcases its catalogue of items created by its members, and we check out tomorrow's weather.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Step into Shop on Carol and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
Hi, Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. And check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
TV, our favourite babysitter, but it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
Welcome back. The Southland Woodworkers Guild opened its doors recently to showcase its catalogue of items created by its members. Bev Wilson has been part of the Guild for 15 years and has seen the club diversify and grow.
Woodworking isn't a lost art. That's the message from Southland Woodworkers Guild committee member Bev Wilson, who says the group is attracting new members.
There's a lot of young boys, or most girls too, that are coming along, that are enjoying woodwork, and they do that at school, so there seems to be a few there that would enjoy doing it.
The Guild hosted the Winton Men's Club recently, showcasing their talents as well as the variety of bowls, sculptures and clocks created by the Guild members. Wilson says she was one of the first women in the Guild when she joined 15 years ago, but has since seen it diversify.
We've got them all ages. I was about the first woman to come along and start, and we've got about 8, or it could be 8 or more now, which is great, and all variety of ages, yes.
The Guild will display their works again in November. In Invercargill, the South Today.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. Plenty of bright young entrepreneurs are in the running for accolades at the Young Business Enterprise Awards. The threat of COVID-19 has meant a colourful southern floral celebration has been cancelled. And a year after 2 Dunedin dogs went missing, their owners haven't given up hope and are still searching for them. And time now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Hayden.
Good evening, Sophie.
Good
How
evening.
are you?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Excellent. Good. Plenty of news today. Our lead story involves the horticulture and viticulture sectors, which of course have been in the news a lot of late, desperately crying out for more staff in the wake of COVID-19. They can't find people to pick fruit and pick those grapes to turn into wine. And today they're talking about what they perceive to be double standards. The fishing industry, of course, employing a lot of people from Russia, Ukraine, Eastern European countries. We've just seen a lot of these spike in COVID-19 cases. And naturally, they're asking, well, why can't we bring in more overseas labour for our industries? And obviously we're talking to the fishing industries who are talking about the unique challenges they have faced in finding employees. So it's a really interesting angle that just kind of rolls on. And on a much lighter note, weather. Everyone loves a good weather story, and there's apparently good news coming. Labour weekend is approaching. Some of us have 3 days off, and the very, very good news, it looks like Saturday and Sunday are going to be extremely warm.
Lovely.
Time to get the barbie out. It's going to be the beginning of a glorious Dunedin and wider south summer, I'm sure. So
Great.
Whales, we've got lots of whales around, which is quite interesting. Three different species of whale spotted in Otago Harbour just this week. Quite unusual, though it looks like October is the month to see whales. So we've got a few more details about what type of whale they are and where we might be able to see them. And our reporter from Invercargill has been in a chopper or a plane today, I think, heading into the Milford track to see how work is going. Obviously, after the big floods this year, huge damage done to parts of the track. So today we got a good look in from the air and how that track is going. Obviously a hugely popular track. It won't be getting the overseas walkers that it normally does, but I'm sure there'll be lots of Kiwis keen to head out there and stride along the Milford track this year. And we'll have the latest from the Otago Vault's opening cricket game of the summer, not going too well, unfortunately. All that and all sorts of other bits and pieces.
Great, thank you, Hayden. And time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Starting with a southern view, Dunedin Stewart Street from a first floor window. Looking at the situation, another fine day ahead tomorrow and again on Friday as light westerly airflow prevails. Warmer northerly airflow will increase on Saturday ahead of some rain due later in the long weekend. Starting off with the northwest of the South Island, expect partial cloud and 14 degrees in Greymouth and mostly sunny conditions and 16 degrees in Westport. To the northeast, mostly sunny with 18 degrees in Blenheim and 19 degrees in Nelson. In Canterbury, mostly cloudy in Kaikoura with 14 degrees, while it's partly cloudy elsewhere with 16 degrees in Christchurch and 17 in Ashburton. To the southern towns, light northeasterlies, some cloud and 15 degrees in the Catlins, light westerlies, some cloud and 16 degrees in Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore. To central, light winds and some cloud for the area with 20 degrees in Wanaka and Alexandra, 18 for Queenstown and 15 for Te Anau. To the northern towns, light northeasterlies and some cloud on the coast with 17 degrees in Timaru and 16 in Oamaru. Inland, light winds, some cloud and 19 degrees in both Twizel and Omarama. And Dunedin, cloudy tonight with northeasterlies and an overnight low of 8. Mostly cloudy skies tomorrow, but cloud breaking during the morning and a few sunny periods at times later in the day. Moderate northeasterly winds, a high of 15 and a low of 8. Similar weather on Friday, some cloud but sunny periods too and moderate northeasterlies, a high of 17 and a low of 9. And in Invercargill, some cloud tonight with an overnight low of 8. Fine tomorrow and Friday with a mix of sunny periods and cloud. Thursday's temperatures are a high of 16 and a low of 9, and Friday a high of 17 and a low of 9. And that's all for our news this Wednesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz or follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.